weiß Bescheid. Nintendo.
Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast on the planet. Prepare to reevaluate everything you've been taught.
They have the power, we have the numbers now. It's all just a constant illusion of control. They break us like horses.
And they can tell us we're crazy, and we can say, well, you haven't seen anything yet.
Everything you knew was a goddamn lie. Put you up and explode like it's the 4th of July. Possessed by perfection in this land, if you're awake, you're the enemy. Where they lead, you will follow. Well, I guess that's just the way it goes. And if you look away, you'll be doing what they say. And if you look alive, you'll be singled out and tried. If you every day a new deception, pick your scene and take direction. And on a search to connect, but I don't wear a mask and I have no regret. Down on your knees, you don't look so tall. Open your eyes and the empire falls. I don't know what place that I wanna find. Could you just open your eyes and free your mind? And here we go.
I was drifting around the social medias the other day, and I came across this, I don't know, it was a stand-up comedian bit, and he was making fun of this person in the audience. They had a mask on. So he started making fun of them. And I got a chuckle of it. It's interesting to see the times changing the way they are. I'm watching this comedian talk about, I don't even know what he was talking about, honestly. Just what hit me was that the whole audience wasn't wearing a mask, and this guy was, this individual was. And the comment came out that the guy wearing the mask had said, "Are you mask shaming me?" And I thought to myself, holy juniper. We're in a spot right now where this guy could say, "Are you mask shaming me?" And there was a moment in time where, like, society would have taken a step back and been like, "Oh my God, am I mask shaming? Am I mask shaming this guy?" And that's a bad thing. And if you look at this, I don't know, if you look at this perspective from so many points of view, can we say this? Can we say that? Have we been pushed in one direction? Are we thinking for ourselves? Are we able to have ideas on what we want to think about? So much comes out about how we think we should think, and how we think we should say what it is that we're saying. And how for a long time, if you didn't agree with the science, you were a terrible person, like a pariah, a social pariah. And the doctors that disagreed with the statements were silenced. And everybody everywhere just did as they were told constantly. And then it was people started to do it like, I just want this to be over. I just want this. But the critical thinkers were shunned and shit on. And it was I don't know if you guys remember, but it was a really weird time in life last week and the 3 years prior to that. So I'm watching this comedian on stage talk about this guy, and the guy goes, "Are you mask shaming me?" And he goes, "Hell yeah, I am." Because if you really truly think about this, and if you sit back and you question this, how was it that you like people tried to attack you physically if you weren't wearing a mask? There was no way you were going into a store. There was no way this, that, and anything. And there was all these mandates and all these things and all these people who thought that it was to help and to save. And whether, you're stuck in Canada, because in Canada right now, you still can't get on public transit without wearing a mask. So to all you guys listening everywhere, I'm not even sure I mentioned this. I might have. But my long-standing hole in South Dakota has been filled. So somebody in South Dakota is now listening to the podcast, which means I officially have been downloaded in every single state. And that was so weird just to see that giant hole in South Dakota where nobody listened to the show. I thought maybe they don't have internet in South Dakota, but it would appear that they do. And I've been downloaded. So that's kind of fun. So thank you, South Dakota listener, whoever you are, or a bunch of listeners, or some listeners, or maybe it was just a VPN from another fan and had been listening to before and they VPN'd their way in. I mean, hey, I'm just happy that hole is filled in my stats. So however it worked out, thank you guys for that. Back to the matter at hand. This free thing. What did you expect would happen when you go in and you're wearing a mask and then you accuse the comedian of mask shaming? Everybody's sick of wearing a mask. Like, do you think they're going to be on your side? Like, are we allowed to go to a comedy store and not worry? Like, man, there was a time where you couldn't. I remember going out to the comedy shows and you knew first and foremost, do not sit in the front row if you do not want to get heckled. And now, we live in a generation where people are too afraid to do anything. People are too afraid of anything to be said about them or anything like that. To be offensive, to be this, to be that. Like comedy really took a beating, right? Comedy really took a 1-2 punch in this whole thing because all of a sudden being offended was somebody else's responsibility. Like if I'm offended, it's your responsibility. In other words, you're in control of how I feel. I give you full power to control how I feel, as opposed to any other point in time where if I'm offended, that's entirely on me and it's up to me to either leave the room or do something. But it's not up to me to point the finger and say, you've offended me, because nobody's offended you. You chose to be offended by the words that were coming out of your mouth, and typically it's a social justice warrior move. Well, I'm going to be offended because this seems like the thing that I should be offended about. So why should the rest of the world care if you're offended? And this is something that we got away from. If nobody's strong enough to stand up for what they believe in or anything like that, then the whole world will fall for everything that's going to make them soft. I don't understand why, if you're offended, you feel that you have any sense of entitlement to stand up and say, you've offended me in this social setting. Now, I'm not saying, you can't go out somewhere and somebody is just arbitrarily doing offensive things. But even that's up to you to leave. Or, I don't know, call cops or do something. Who does what now? I mean, me personally, if anyone anywhere in any situation is doing something offensive, kind of me now with, I guess, the way my brain works, I'm like, well, good for you. It's about time somebody offended somebody. Is that the best thing? I don't know, maybe not. But is it the worst thing? No. And is it something that has to happen? Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. We went so far in the don't offend anyone direction that people forgot how to actually act and interact in society. I find it hard to believe that we live in a world where 100% of the shit that so many people believe comes straight from the doctors' mouths. And when you really look at this and when you really psychoanalyze this, it's not even the doctors, because the doctors that are speaking out against it are being quelched. And there's so many of us in the quote unquote conspiracy world that say us and them and those people are doing this. And there's this one meme that I really like that says eventually you're going to have to explain who they are. The they that you keep referring to. Well, I've got an idea. I've got a huge idea. And because we've talked about flat earth, we've talked about kind of everything on this show. Artificial intelligence is not something that is out of the realm. I mean, there's been so many shows about it. There's been so much talk about it. I mean, even the Illuminati, which everybody loves to talk about, is, like their whole ideology and everything is sort of hidden behind the all-seeing eye. Right? It's on the top of the $1 bill, the top of the pyramid. What is it? It's AI. It's an eye. It's AI. So it's just a tie-in. Artificial intelligence running the show. Is artificial intelligence they? Would artificial intelligence call itself artificial intelligence? I don't know. I don't see how it could. Are we artificial intelligence? Theoretically, if you consider the Westworld as a show, why not? Are there a million possibilities as to what we are? Yes, 100%. Could anyone be anything? Yes, 100%. So why do we fight over the color of skin? Why do we fight over masks? Why do we fight over medical procedures? Why do we fight over who got jabbed with what? Do you know why we fight? I think it's because we're told to fight. We're told to have opinions. We're told to be staunch about our opinions. And we're told to fight. As opposed to looking inside and questioning more and asking more and doing more. And being open and experimenting and experiencing and having a time. They are controlling that we fight. Think about the layers of division. Now, this is one ideology that goes into the ability to blame somebody else. And you can hold on to that ideology for as long as humanly and or artificially intelligently possible until you realize that you cannot blame anybody else. And that the artificial intelligence that might be the they that we refer to is actually the opponent in which we chose to quote unquote do battle with so that we ourselves could become better versions of ourselves. And what's one of the very first things that we hear? Oh, a leopard can't change its spots. People can't change. Holy. I'll tell you this right now. The only reason you exist is to learn, grow, adapt, change, overcome, become, create. You're here to change. You had to be a piece of shit for you to become aware of how much of a piece of shit that you were. Some people don't want to hear that. Cognitive dissonance kicks right in. No, I'm not a piece of shit. You're all pieces of shit. And thankfully, none of you guys are those who would get offended. Because boy, oh boy. And some of you are following, not some of you, some of the people that get offended follow the Instagram. I'd have to assume somebody brought that up. They're like, you're probably being ratted out by somebody in there, one of your followers. And I said, I just assumed it was the AI coming after me. And the funny thing too with that is even though we've lost completely all reach on Instagram, it's a freeing circumstance. It's something that can be built back. I mean, we have a bit of a leg up. We're not starting from zero. We're starting from where we are. So we can return to form, but it's been liberating now. So even the worst thing that's going on, not the worst thing, but like business-wise, the worst thing that's going on with regards to losing that reach and losing the ability to connect with those people. And I shouldn't even say business-wise, to be honest with you. Like, it's not about business. I don't ever ask for money. We don't do this sort of stuff over here. It's a lot of the stuff to anyone that needs our help or to anyone that just resonates with us or wants to reach out, they will. You will. If you're ready, you're going to reach out. And we're here to talk to you. We're here to say stuff. And until you're ready, we're just here to entertain. And quote unquote, they took that from us. I loved entertaining. I loved being able to reach people and have a laugh and create and engage free thought. But that was not to be the case now. But it's also liberating, like I said. It has us grow and change and adapt. And we're getting some solid feedback from the podcast because the Instagram went down and a few other things changed. We went to a 2-episode-a-week format, which I think is pretty cool. I think that getting the opportunity to engage with you guys more, that are listening to us more and changing more and doing more, I think it's more fun for everybody. And this to me is a much more entertaining avenue to sit here and ramble, shoot the shit with you guys. You know, hopefully we're going to get to the point where we can make this properly interactive. And that's not too far or too hard or anything like that. It's just a matter of changing the dichotomy of kind of how we're doing it, getting some new software, some new technology. It's all there. It's all there. Thing is, you know, we can't really be uploaded in certain places. We can't go live in certain other places because a lot of those places have already blackballed us. Can you believe that? The amount of people that have blackballed us simply because we engage in free thought. But at the end of the day, you know, we are an enemy to the system. We're going against what the narrative speaks. We're preaching freedom. We're preaching free thought. We're preaching anti-depression, anti-anxiety. We're preaching liberation. About preaching it from the rooftops. And anyone that wants to get angry at us, you're going to see. Anyone that wants to get angry at us can say whatever they want, and it's always the you know, the greasy wheel that gets a greasy squeak that gets the wheel. But the truth of the matter is, we're consistent. So anyone that's got anything to say about us in a negative fashion, they're really just speaking about themselves, or they're on the attack. They got an agenda. So it doesn't really bother us that much, those things anymore. But it's neat to watch the world sort of act and react, because at the end of the day, it comes down to my ability to observe the war that's going on, the social media divide. Everything is division. I heard a line in a song that says, I think it was Grandson. They had a line that said, you know, until the skin of man is as irrelevant as the eyes of man. And he's referring to the color. I'm like, that's so phenomenal. You know, if you think about how stupid racism is, some people hate other people based on the color of their skin, yet we haven't yet figured out how to hate people based on the color of their eyes. So if you really think about that, somebody somewhere is programming hatred into a sect of people who are spreading hatred. This is what racism is. But those who are racist are too fucking stupid to understand that they've been abused by the very system in which they feel that they're cheering. To the point where they can't even think for themselves and say to themselves, you know what? I'm now also going to be racist against eye color because I hate that too. And isn't that funny? So to every racist mother effer out there, you're being played like a piece of shit fiddle. And you don't even have enough brain capacity to understand or choose your own levels of hate. Right? If you want to hate, well, shit. Here are the things that you're allowed to hate. And anything other than that, you don't even know about. Ah, how fantastic. It just makes me laugh. Sorry if I got animated on the hatred of racism. It's ignorance. Ignorance also exists so that you can overcome it. If you want to be an ignorant racist piece of shit, and then you hear something like I just said, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I am lying to myself about a lot of things. Now, I don't think any enlightened person can actually be racist, because when you realize that being racist is just the system playing you against each other for its own benefit, you're like, wait a minute. Well, this is just dumb. Well, I'm just a sucker. And that's what racism is. And that goes both ways. Being a victim of racism, being a perpetrator of racism. Thinking anything on a weak scale affects us. Thinking anything on a overtly aggressive negative scale affects us. To not take complete control of your own life, 100% control. In other words, I am responsible for how I choose to react to absolutely everything that takes place in my sphere of influence. I'm responsible. You don't offend me. I choose to be offended by your shenanigans. This is what I'm talking about. This is liberating. This is freedom. Freedom! Speaking of freedom, ladies and gentlemen, next week on the show, I have a special guest, Jason Basler. This dude runs the Police the Police accounts on Instagram. He runs the Free Thought Project on Instagram and on Facebook and on all of the internets. He's got some of the craziest stuff out there. He's been silenced and he's been dancing around all kinds of shadow bans and everything like that. This guy's great. If you guys haven't heard the Free Thought Project or Police the Police, Jason Basler on Instagram, all of those accounts are phenomenal. And I was really, really excited to sit down with him. We only had an hour, but man, we pushed it. We talked about all kinds of stuff. And the next time we have him back on the show, we're going to do probably case-specific things and really get into it. But it was a broad spectrum. I love this guy. He was one hell of an interview. He was one hell of just a connection. And it was a treat. It was a joy. So he's on the show next week. And man, I don't know what else to say about that, but you guys are really going to like that one. I like that one. It was definitely all over the place and we covered a lot, but he's got a lot to say. He's got a lot to they lost 6 million on Facebook in the first wipeout of all this sort of stuff. People talk about censorship not being a real thing. You know, we're all living in a world of censorship. We're all living in a spot where the things that are being delivered to us are specifically selected by geography, by location, by where we are, by basically the things that we search. Everything that comes to us, that appears to come to us by accident, is coming to us online, I should say, is coming to us because that's the algorithm. And what's really fascinating is everything that comes to us externally that has nothing to do with the online work is also because of the algorithm. Your life is a result of the things that you put in, the things that you think about, the things that you desire, the choices that you make to attain the goals that you want to attain. All of this is your own personal algorithm. So it follows you around. It creates things. You are the curator of your life. If you want to sit there and be miserable about a lot of shit, well then good. That's what's going to happen. These are the things that are going to happen to you. You're going to be miserable and everything's going to be shit. If you decide that you want to step things up and love life and have fun and just put down all the bullshit, like drop the racism, drop the drinking, drop the cigarettes, drop the bullshit, drop all this stuff that keeps you in a negative vibration, drop talking shit about people. For the love of God, if we could all collectively just stop talking shit about everybody else around us, do you know how much the collective experience would grow, adapt, change, become something so phenomenal? But no, because first of all, the person that's talking shit talks so much shit often that everybody else around them has to absorb that energy as they're talking it, and then they have to listen to it. And they walk away. You could be having the time of your life, and then and when you walk up to a shit talking friend, you're like, fuck, are we doing this again? Are you going to shit talk again? Fuck, come on. Anyway, I'm super animated today because it's been a long day of talking. It's been a long day of work. It's been a long day of a lot of things. I'm really excited about today. I'm really excited about everything, man. It's just a really cool time for all of us to be alive and for all of us to be waking up and for all of us to be seeing what we're seeing and perceiving however we choose to perceive it, because every single person on this planet is having their own experience, a very, very unique experience. It's cool. Bottom line, it's cool. It's been one hell of a summer. Ladies and gentlemen, today is July 25th. We have crammed a lot into July. We have crammed a hell lot into July. It's been beautiful. It's been absolutely beautiful. So many cities, so many live concerts, so many venues, so many experiences. And all I can say at this moment in time is, right now, guys, drop all the bullshit. Fuck it all. It's all dumb. All the stories that you tell yourself about all the bullshit, all of it's dumb. You sitting there inside your own head, telling yourself the story, and then backing it up with further thoughts inside your own head. Fuck all that. Get out there, get some sunshine, get some love, get some light, eat something healthy. I don't know. Just start to have a little bit more fun. Not that you guys don't, because you're one hell of an amazing audience. But also you could share that message to somebody that's sitting there negatively. I mean, I sound like I'm yelling a lot in this episode. Maybe I am. But maybe I'm just having a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, in the infamous words of Red Green, keep your stick on the ice.
Thank you for listening to today's Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag MMA and Mental Mastery Alliance. Want more motivation? Be sure to follow online on Instagram at Mental Mastery Alliance and on Facebook at Mental Mastery Alliance. And remember, your perception creates your reality. Make it a great day.
You got it, Pontiac.